Hi, everybody. I'm Pierre Bouvard, Chief Insights Officer here at the Audio Active Group at Cumulus Media in Westwood One. And today we're asking, how can audio build brands for AI companies? Well, to answer that question, Oxford Road, the world's leading podcast advertising agency, commissioned a slew of studies over the last year in partnership with us here at the Audio Active Group. They conducted 4 separate studies of consumers, workers, media agencies, and marketers, and also consulted Adil Kakham's brand new book, which just published, AI for Marketing, The Consumer Perspective. So 3 consumer studies were fielded with Quantilope, November of 25, February and July of 26, and this focused on consumer attitudes and needs around AI, as long with a study of American workers. Then perceptions of AI and usage of AI were probed among 300 marketers and media agencies. This advertiser perception study conducted in November of 2025. So about 8 key findings to bring to your attention today. First, we are in the early stages of brand building of AI brands. AI brands need to market themselves. Americans are only vaguely aware and modestly interested in AI services. Weekly usage of AI, about 1 out of 2 Americans, is at the same levels that the internet experienced in 2001. There is a huge opportunity to market AI applications for the workplace. At present, most American consumers are using AI for personal purposes. Audio should be the centerpiece of AI media plans. Significant usage of AI, way over index among heavy podcast listeners, satellite radio, streaming audio, and AM/FM radio. Now, ad creative needs to be sensitive to consumer apprehensions. We found a broad disconnect between attitudes around AI among marketers and media agencies, which is at nearly euphoric levels, and a more cautious take on AI among everyday consumers. Adil Kakham's book recommends that marketers consider 4 different generational targets when marketing AI to consumers. And they also recommend that AI should be positioned as the collaborative tool in your hand, not the mind in control. And AI ad creative should focus on building emotion and positive memories, as opposed to easily forgotten rational features and benefits. And most important, beware the cost of dull. Ads that feature a lot of dry, rational claims are easily forgotten, and you actually have to spend twice as much money on dull campaigns to get the same impact as interesting and emotion-based campaigns. And for those reasons, there's a strong recommendation in Adil Kakham's book that creative should be pre-tested. So, current state of AI, according to all these studies, 1 out of 2 Americans using it daily, which is where the internet was back in 2001. And at present, primarily consumers are using this for personal purposes, twice as likely to be using it for personal means as opposed to the workplace. And we uncovered a tale of 2 cities, a major disconnect between the positive euphoria for AI among advertisers and agencies and a very different story among everyday consumers. So let's take a look at AI use. Now, marketers and media agencies, according to advertiser perceptions, daily use is 55%, which is twice as much as what average Americans are doing with AI. And then when it comes to the workplace, again, marketers and media agencies, 56% using AI daily in the workplace, only 15% of average Americans. So there is a big difference in usage. And if you work in an agency or at a marketer, one would think like, well, everyone is like me in America and everyone's using AI. As you can see, that is absolutely not the case. and a big disconnect in attitudes. If you look at the advertiser perceptions attributes of AI, this is positively euphoric. It's excited and hopeful and impressed. And it is until you get to the middle of the emotion ranker that you see the first mention of caution and concern. When you flip over to the Quantilope studies of everyday Americans, caution and concern is at the top of the AI attitude ranker. So very important. If you're in the marketing and media business, your attitudes are very different from the vast majority of Americans. There's also differences by demographic. Even among 1834s to the left of the screen, caution is the number one attribute. But among older folks, 35-64, caution is literally 20 points ahead of the other attributes. Now, a lot of data coming out of the series of Oxford Road studies that point to the fact that audio is an ideal medium for AI companies to build their brands. Here we're looking at past month media consumers and the proportion of these media users that say they're very interested in AI. The top 5 things on this ranker, it's all audio. Sirius XM satellite radio number 1, streaming of AM FM number 2, streaming music with ads, podcasts, AM FM radio. It isn't until you get to the lower part of the ranker where video and TV begins to show up. So audio in all of its forms have people that are super interested in AI and are big users. So here we're comparing audio AI usage among heavy radio, podcast, and streaming listeners, streaming that accepts ads. And you can see the daily usage much higher than the average Americans, and the heavy TV viewers look just like the average Americans. This is in folks' personal lives, in the workplace. Again, heavy audio consumers much more likely to be daily AI users versus average Americans and heavy TV viewers. When it comes to sports content, whether it's podcast sports content in Bright Blue or AM/FM radio sports content like Sports Talk and Play by Play, this is a spectacular environment for AI brands to build their brands. You can see significantly greater familiarity and usage among sports audio fans versus the overall marketplace. So let's take a quick peek at AI brand equity in the form of a familiarity scale at the top, extremely or very familiar, and then less familiar as you go down the page. The big story here, there are no mass appeal brands. There's no brands that are heavily familiar to average Americans. We are in the early days of brand building, so a lot of work to be done, and no one can declare victory when it comes to creating brand equity for their AI company. Now let's switch over to American businesses. A survey conducted by Quantilope divided Americans into 3 types of companies. To the right of your screen, large companies with 500 or more employees, medium companies with 100 to 500 employees, and then smaller firms with less than 100. It is the medium and the larger firms that are slightly more likely to say that they have some kind of a subscription with an AI company. Only a quarter of small businesses say they do. But when it comes to usage, pretty much a similar pattern between small, medium, and large companies. About a third saying that they're using it daily. But you can see in gray, those that are rarely using it are still a big chunk across companies of all sizes. What are the biggest concerns among American workers about AI? Well, job elimination. And you can see the bigger the company, the greater concern that AI will eliminate jobs. There's also a concern that AI will reduce creativity. And as you can see, the bigger the company, the greater the concern that AI will reduce creativity. Now, on the positive side, it's about saving time and making your job easier. The bigger the company, the greater these positives grow to. So Adil Kakham's new book is chock full of some very strong creative best practices for AI brands. This book was literally just published in the last month. Adil's company, Iris Flex, is an insights firm. She is the former chief research officer for Odyssey, one of the largest audio companies in the US. Her big point is prioritize emotion, focus on creating positive memories, as opposed to having a focus on easily forgotten rational features and benefits. And this concept about prioritizing emotion reactions for the creative rather than easily forgotten rational copy really plays to all of the work from the legendary godfathers of marketing effectiveness, Les Binet and Peter Field. And their work found, interestingly, the less rational copy points you have, the more emotion you create, the more likely people will be to associate positive attributes with your brand, even though they really weren't mentioned in the ad. Adil's book also recommends to sell the collaborative tool in your hand, not mind control. And that is a better way to build trust. She suggests different focuses by generation. Gen Z needs speed and social proof. Millennials want evidence of value and ROI for AI, and Gen X needs practical use cases that doesn't threaten expertise. And the boomers need simplicity and trust signals from authoritative sources. And most importantly, beware the very and extraordinary cost of dull ads. Dull ads really don't grow market share. In fact, the duller the campaigns, according to System1 and research from Peter Field, John Evans, and the Challenger agency out of the UK, Eat Big Fish, the duller the ad, the less market share you will grow and the more money you will spend. You have to spend twice as much on a dull campaign as a campaign that is interesting. So make your ads memorable and create positive memories. So a lot of data, but some great takeaways, courtesy of Oxford Road. AI brands need to market themselves. They are in the first couple of innings of building brand equity. Big opportunities for building brands for the workplace. Audio should be the centerpiece of media plans, significantly higher usage and interest and awareness of AI among heavy audio consumers. The creative needs to be sensitive to the consumer apprehensions. This data clearly says that if you're sitting at a brand or a media agency, you have no negativity about AI. You have to be careful. Average Americans are much more apprehensive. Adil Kakkam recommends generational targeting with different messaging and building trust by positioning AI as a tool, not mind control, and prioritize emotion, prioritize creating positive memories versus rational features and benefits that are very dull. And you have to spend twice as much on dull ads as you do on interesting ads. And most importantly, make sure you're pre-testing your creative and messaging. The Audio Active Group here at Cumulus Media in Westwood One is a full-service national brand advisory focusing on audio. We do a lot of measurement, sales effect, attribution, brand lift, as well as creative pre-testing. Each and every week, we publish a new audio case study. You can find it on our blog, which you can get to at cumulusmedia.com or westwood1.com. And when you're there, sign up to get the weekly audio case study sent directly to your email box. Thanks so much for the opportunity to review all of these new studies and insights, courtesy of Oxford Road and the power of audio to build AI brands. Thanks so much.